Hello, it's your furry professor, Kyra. And for this video, I thought it'd be fun to do something a little bit different. So, I've made videos about the fact that I'm a writer and I've published stuff before. But as well as being a writer, I'm a reader, which kind of goes hand in hand. Usually if you're a writer, you like to read. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about some of my book recommendations. These are all fiction. They're just books that I've read recently in the last, couple months that I'm like, these are fantastic. So I have a little stack. I'm looking because I want to make sure that I have the right amount before I say it. But I think I have 5 book recommendations that I highly recommend. The genres are kind of all over the place, so there's not one specific thing because I like to read all kinds of stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to recommend some books to you. Okay. So the first one, I had gone to Barnes & Noble. It was sitting on a table, and sometimes I don't always go right to the table books because, I don't know, for me, I don't always like books that are trending. And it's not anything, it's just like a personal thing. But this one was on its own table, and it sounded pretty good, so I picked it up. I read it. I cried multiple times reading the book, and I thought it was absolutely lovely. And that book is You've Reached Sam. This book is fantastic if you have lost somebody in your life and you want to know what it's like to reach out to them after they've passed. I think I connected a lot with this particular book because the girl in here is a writer, but also just it was such a delightful read. It was really cute, and honestly, it kind of opened my mind to the idea of what would it be like if you could talk to loved ones that have passed. And this, oh my gosh, fantastic. It was super cute. I warn you, you will cry a lot reading it. But this is just chef's kiss of a book. I love this. Keeping with like the cute themes, I actually just finished this book. I'm usually not somebody who likes the cutesy books. I like the more different kind of genres, which in this pile, you'll see what I mean. But I was like, all right, this sounded kind of cute. So I picked it up and I read it. And I loved it. It was a very good story. It was very much a fiction story. And I'll explain that in a second. But you gotta understand, I read through a writer's perspective. So like some stuff I don't read the same way someone who isn't a writer would. You know what I mean? So this particular book, I have never read any of this particular author's books before, but they're very popular and I know other people like them, but I was like, all right, so picked it up, read it, and I actually really liked it. It was really, really nice, and I actually recommend it because it was a nice, cute read. If you want a nice, feel-good read, I highly recommend Sundays at Tiffany's. This book was super cute. So it's about this girl who has an imaginary friend when she's younger, and now she's an adult, and this imaginary friend comes back. And this book is like a little bit of a roller coaster, but not like a thrill coaster. It's just like a lot. There's a lot of emotions. I read this with the full intent that like this was going to break my heart, but I promise this book is super cute. The ending of this book had me dying. It was adorable. I loved it. If you want a nice, like, it's quick. It's very quick. Like, the chapters are super short. If you just want a nice, quick read, highly recommend it. It's so good. Super, super cute. Loved it. I think it took me, like, in reality, like, a few hours because, like, the chapters are, like, super, super short. So, definitely recommend this for, like, a nice, cutesy read. Keeping with the kind of cutesier stuff, we're going to take a little bit of a shift. And we're going to go to the more, like, fantasy genre. I think this book falls into that. Normally I don't read stuff with, like, wizards and all that stuff. I'm going to say something that is going to make people hate me, but I never liked Harry Potter. So, wizardy stuff, not my thing. But I found this book at the one bookstore that I go to pretty often. It's like a thrift bookstore. It's really amazing. They have all kinds of stuff there, and I love going there. This particular book was recommended by the people that work there, and I was like, all right, let's see how it is. It was a page turner, and I could not put it down, and it was amazing. Absolutely wonderful. It is in the LGBTQ genre, so if you don't like that, probably don't read it, but I highly recommend it. It is a very phenomenal, like, love story kind of cute book. Another really good, just all-around story. That is Carry On. I love this book so much. I actually think I might reread this. It is super good. This particular author actually makes like a bunch of stuff within this world that are like standalone books. I haven't gotten to read any of them yet, but this is kind of like where it starts. So good. Oh my gosh. If you do like Harry Potter, I think you would like this though. It's very good. And I love the characters in here. Baz, which this is Baz. I fucking love him. He's amazing in this book. And I love this. This is another just like feel good story. It has a great kind of storytelling to it. And I love it. It's amazing. Highly recommend it. It's just super, super good. Now, before I move on, because the genre is going to shift significantly, I want to kind of touch base on like the whole reading as a writer. So I had said about which was it? This book, The Sundays at Tiffany's. This was a fantastic book in the fiction sense. The only thing that like I have personally wrong with this book is just it's too much fiction, because this book is very much nothing in this could ever actually happen. And I think for me, I don't like to have stories that way, because I write stories all the time, and I feel like everything I write has to have some kind of explanation, a very vivid description of, and like this is how this is possible. This doesn't really have a this is how, because this is one of those situations where it's like it's just because it just can, you know. To a normal person who isn't a writer, I'm sure that that's perfectly fine, and this is great because of that. It is purely fiction. It is just, this is how this is because it is. And I honestly think that that's great for fiction, to just have a story that's just like, this is just how it is because it's not real. That's what fiction is. Fiction is not real. I personally just, as a writer, like my writing style, I need to have some form of like understanding why this is happening. I actually have my master's degree in writing in fiction. And like, I just really want to have the most believable fiction story that I could possibly create. I am not shitting on this book at all, by the way. This book is fantastic. It's adorable, but it is very much fiction. Like, there's nothing in this that could actually happen. And that's just a personal review. Like I said, it's not downing the book. The story's great. It's adorable. I love it. It's just, for me as a writer, it's just very hard to just be like, yep, it's just because it is. And honestly, where'd it go? Hang on. This book is kind of the same way. This is another one of those just because it can happen. This isn't as much as this one, but this had a little more of an explanation, but kind of not really. When you read it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But this book will make you cry. It is really good. Like, a really good book. Honestly, I never would have thought that this book went the way that it did, but I absolutely loved it. So, cutesy books. I do love them because sometimes you just need a really good, like, feel-good story. But that is not the only books that I have here. I have 2 more books, and we're going to take a little bit of a genre shift. I want to explain because both of these books have this setting, but my all-time favorite setting for books is amusement parks. There's just like a whimsy to them that I absolutely am like, this is incredible. And actually, I might have a 3rd book after this that it's on my bookshelf. I have a bookshelf over here. You can't see it, but there's books all over it. There's going to be a 3rd one, and I'm probably going to forget to talk about it, but we're going to try. Actually, you know what? Let's just talk about it now. So, amusement parks. But also, one of my favorite genres is horror. And I also very much enjoy when the two are combined. Having a horror book setting in an amusement park, there's just a certain amount of like admiration I have to it. Because amusement parks are known to be fun, exciting, and happy places. I go to amusement parks all the time. So you wouldn't expect a happy-go-lucky place to be the setting of a horror story. Except these next 3 books that I want to show you and recommend, that is how they are. Now, this first one is not horror. It is actually by Stephen King. It is Joyland. Joyland is so good. That one is actually a mystery. It's very, very good. I read it in college for my one English class, and it was not what I expected from Stephen King, because a lot of people associate Stephen King with horror because he is like the king of horror books. And actually, the 2 other books on here are not Stephen King. So, one of them, though, is another very popular horror writer, but we'll get there. But Joyland, amazing. It's set in an amusement park, and it's a mystery about a murder and all that stuff. And it has a crazy, crazy, like, story. Very much is still Stephen King, but, like, 10 out of 10. I recommend it. I do have it, I believe, somewhere, but very highly recommend that one, too. It's not like what you would expect from Stephen King, but his horror books are really good. I should also recommend Mr. Mercedes, because that's a fantastic book. That is my favorite book by Stephen King, but that is not an amusement park setting, but it's still really good. So, let's move on to the horror amusement park books that I have. This first one I actually didn't find on my own. My boyfriend found it for me, because I was trying to get as many, because there is a ton of books that have the amusement park as the setting for these, like, scary kind of things. And this particular one I should say this before I recommend it. It was a slice of life story, because the ending of it just was like, over. So, if you're not familiar, I was taught in school that a slice of life story is basically like a set time in a character's life. So, it's not a beginning to end in their life. You are literally reading a very tiny section of their life. So there is like a whole timeline, I'm sure, of this character that exists in an outside plane of the story, but you're only going to read this much of it. And that very much well explains The Fun House by Dean Koontz. This is a really good book. It's older, but it's, I say, hang on. I say older, but like, I don't mean like ancient here. 2001. So it's older. It's still younger than me, but it's older than the other one I have, which I'm saving this last one because this book I really want to talk about next. But this one was set in an amusement park. It's pretty funky. It's very interestingly written. And it, like this, I kind of want to read more by this author, because this book made me angry for a hot minute for the simple fact, I also share a birthday with this guy, I realized, which is really cool. July 9th. I share a birthday with him. It's actually really neat. However, this is a very much slice of life story. When this book ended, I was like, wait, but I want to know about this and this and this. But that's actually a really good, like, writing style, because the book that, or the story, the short story I published is kind of like that, where it could have ended and just be done, or it's like, well, I want to know more. That's how this was. Like, you kind of want to read more, because you gotta think, like, the story is only existing in these pages. If you want to read past that, that means you're a good writer, that you want to know more about a story that literally ended when the page kind of was over. So this one, I read it a little while ago, so I gotta remember what this one was. I think this one was a traveling, I think it was like a traveling carnival. Not like an amusement park, but it's still the same kind of deal. Carnival one. Still very, very good. I love this. Slice of life story. It literally ends and it's just over. And I'm like, oh, okay. Very dark. There is some trigger warnings for this, I should say. Believe there's like some sexual assault kind of stuff. So make sure you kind of, before you get into horror, understand that some horror is not just spooky scary. It could be real life horror. And I make this perfect shift to go to the next book because this one was real life horror. I read this book at a very weird time because when I read this, not long after I finished, this almost happened. And I don't exactly remember how I found this book, but I am so glad that I did because it is now one of my favorite books, probably ever. This book I highly recommend. However, this is a huge trigger warning of a story. There is some stuff in here that you will not be able to unsee or unread. There is a lot of death, a lot of very dark themes. There's a lot of really intensity in this book that even I had to pause sometimes because the descriptions that this author used for certain scenes, for how things like took place, had me like almost throwing up. It's so well written, but I do warn you, it is very, very dark. And this amazing novel is Fantastic Land. I love this book so much. Now, this one I'm going to talk the most in depth because this is like the one I've really much anticipated. This particular book is based in a Disney-esque kind of amusement park in Florida. What ends up happening, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the setting is there. So there's an amusement park that's down in Florida that fails to close when a hurricane approaches because it was anticipated that this hurricane was not going to be an issue. Spoiler alert, it becomes a huge issue, and this book is the retelling of what happened in the amusement park after the hurricane stranded the people that were in this park. This book is fantastic. It is written in interview style, meaning that the story is written through interviews with the characters that have survived the entirety of the events that happened in this amusement park. This, I think actually, if I'm correct, this has a freaking, like, trigger warning, I think, warning to it. Let's see. I thought it did, but maybe it didn't. No, it doesn't. I thought it did. I swear to God, one of these books had, like, a trigger warning, but, like, this, no pun intended, book is fantastic. I will always recommend this over anything because this is the kind of, like, you read this and you're like, this could happen. This is the kind of fiction that I love. It was written so well. I'm looking up on the internet if this actually happened. The crazy part is, this almost did. Because I started, like, I think it might have been last hurricane season. There was, like, reports that Disney was not going to close or whatever. And it made me think of this book. Because the events that, happen in this are not unrealistic. This book, like, scared me. Because this is not the casual horror. It's not spooky scary. No. This is real life horror. This is, like, what will happen to you if you are ripped away from society and now are trapped and are forced to survive and not know if you're ever going to be saved. This is amazing. It's so well written. The interview style makes it feel so real, like you're reading these real accounts. And this is fiction. You're going to read this book and be like, you sure this didn't happen? Because, oh my God, I love this book. This book is so good. I did not think I would love it as much as I did. But, like, when I started reading it, I was like, huh, this is, oh god. Yeah, it gets real crazy real fast. I do warn you, oh my god, there are scenes in this book that made me want to throw up. They are so intense and well written. You can hear the noises of some of the events that are occurring here. But like I said, you just have to be a little bit forewarned. This book is dark. Very, very dark. A lot of things happen. But it honestly brings up some really good points about psychological stuff with people when they are trapped. And honestly, if you like spooky, scary, really, really dark, intense reads, fantastic land. It's amazing. Now, that's only a few book recommendations. I have tons of books. I also have a bunch that I haven't read yet, but like, these are just the ones that are in my little pile of like, if anyone asks for like a good read. I have a couple different ones because like, not everyone wants to read the spooky, scary, or the intense, dark horror. They want to read something soft and nice. Like, Carry On was fantastic. Oh my god, it was so nice. Like, Sundays at Tiffany's. Such a beautiful little story. And, You've Reached Sam. Like, You've Reached Sam was like, it made me think of my dad. Like, so I have like a couple different books. But I thought it'd be fun to just kind of talk about some books because, like, you know, I'm your furry professor. You know, I gotta recommend some books for you to read, right? So, fantastic land, though. I am not, like, trying to advertise here, but oh my god. 10 out of 10. And this book is actually, like, pretty recent, too. I think this came out in, well, recent. It was 2016. But, yeah, this, very, very intense. But I highly recommend it. Okay? Good book. I promise. Alright. If you ever have, like, other kinds of books you want to recommend, drop them down in the comments. I'll definitely check them out. I'm very much, as I've said, I very much like horror. And if you have any, like, horror amusement park books, I am all for it. There was another one I read. It was a graphic novel. It was, I don't remember what it was called. I didn't like it, though. And if someone comments it, I'll remember, but I genuinely did not like it. It was a graphic novel. It was something about a curse. I'm not into, like, the whole, it was very, like, borderline religious, and I don't really like books like that, and I did not like it. But yeah, if you have any other horror books that have amusement park themes, I want to read them. Okay? Okay. This was fun. I want to do more stuff like this, so if you like it, then tell me. I want to know. Alright? Alright. This was fun. Bye-bye, guys.